This is Lewis Brackpool reporting for Grit News in collaboration with Oracle Films, and today, as you can see, I'm here in Brussels at the European Parliament, where 7 representatives of their respective countries are banding together to challenge the World Health Organization on their pandemic treaty. The World Health Organization is a specialized agency of the United Nations responsible for international public health. It is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, and for those who are unaware, the pandemic treaty is a proposed international agreement, and in the eyes of the WHO, they look to, quote, strengthen pandemic prevention, preparedness and response. Some are arguing that this international agreement will grant unelected bureaucrats unprecedented power to enforce harsher, stricter lockdowns than before, along with mask mandates and various other restrictions. So I'm here to report on what these representatives are saying and arguing against the WHO.
Today is an important day for the future of European citizens and the whole world. After 3 years of hard censorship, I am very pleased that we have an opportunity to discuss the problems with World Health Organization in this Parliament. We want to start a public discussion and public action with our citizens. The World Health Organization is demanding that all countries surrender authority to declare pandemics and procure so-called vaccines into their hands.
This global organization therefore tacitly validates the failure of the European Union in terms of management of the pandemic and vaccination policy, with a flagrant lack of transparency, conflicts of interest and draconian measures linked to the health pass.
WHO has failed humanity in COVID crisis and must be held accountable. They have trampled on human rights and medical ethics and behaved more like public relation agency for those pharmaceutical companies. WHO is corrupt, and it is more corrupt the higher in hierarchy in the organization structure you go. Many of the employees, including top jobs, are linked to private interests following the principle of revolving doors.
The biggest threat that we are facing right now is a threat to our national sovereignty, to the supremacy of our constitutions, and implicitly, unfortunately, to our fundamental rights. Because if all of these powers that were granted through our constitutions to our national institutions or authorities will be handed over to a global institution that is not accountable to anybody, who is led by people who are not elected by us as citizens, then we are done with our rights.
The main thing about today is that what we really want for people to understand that we cannot move and be heard if we don't do it together.
We as citizens decided to use the ECI, which is the European Citizens Initiative, as a tool to be publicly recognized and finally heard. European Citizens Initiative, as my colleague Philippe has said prior, was introduced with the Treaty of Lisbon in 2007. It was inspired by Switzerland and its existing direct democracy tools. It aims at increasing direct democracy by allowing EU citizens to participate in development of EU policies. Nowadays, we are hearing more frequently that the European Parliament and the European Commission see the disconnect between the people and the institutions, and yet they proceed to listen to these self-elected representatives, such as Director General of the WHO or head of a non-profit organization such as World Economic Forum. This continuous curbing of freedom and loss of trust is the reason why we want to introduce the Trust and Freedom Initiative. Thanks to the tremendous work of our team, that includes not only doctors, lawyers, activists, but also us as mothers and fathers, people from different walks of life, we will be putting forward our ECI, the European Citizens Initiative, to the European Commission within the coming weeks.
This is something that is really big. I think we will collect easily over 1 million signatures. It's not only that people see how many we are, it's that people have something in their hands that they can literally use to challenge their regional politicians. It's bringing this uniting effort that we would not have with a petition in just one country.
This is the most dangerous aspect in the past 3 years. It was the violation of the integrity of our body, our right of self-determination to make our own choice regarding what kind of medication we want to apply. And we want to do it based on accurate and correct information. And this is why we are here today. There was no protection of this most personal and most vulnerable aspect of our life in the past, and there will be no in the future if we don't act today.
We really are at risk in our society to lapse from a democratic system into a new kind of totalitarianism, a kind of technocratic new totalitarianism. And I think that, for instance, the new treaty of the WHO is a major leap forward in this direction.
I reject the idea that in the future not only actual diseases but a mix of data analysis, computer models, artificial intelligence and test results should justify risk assessment at the discretion of the World Health Organization.
The Global Pandemic Treaty and the amendments to the International Health Regulations will allow the WHO to declare a public health emergency of international concern, a FAKE, abbreviated to, and not only when to call it, but how long it would last and when it would be over. And I suspect that it would be a very long time before we had democracy returned to our independent parliaments. I call on every elected representative around the world to resist these WHO power grabs.
I'll work with the European Union, I'll work with these MPs. We have the same goal, which is to protect our citizens' human rights and all of humanity. And if we can stop it here, then so be it. I know that we will be on the right side of history. I want history written pretty quickly because we need to get over this. It's been a very dark chapter in human history. The politics of right and left has gone. It's now the politics of right and wrong, good and evil.
Secondly, I'll call upon the citizens of the world to unite in their respective countries, as we will do in ours, and across all continents of the world, and to tell those citizens that you do have a choice. You have the power to effect change and you have a voice, so use it. Now we must work together to stand against this power grab and at the very least raise mass awareness, encourage and demonstrate mass non-compliance. You have a choice not to choose their new normal. Thank you.
The event also featured virtual contributions from Pastor Artur Pawlowski from Canada and Doctors David Martin and Peter McCullough from the United States.
I would like to stand here and tell you all the things about freedom and democracy that I like, but I no longer know those things. They have been taken away from us Canadians. Canada has fallen. We no longer have freedom of religion or freedom of speech, or the right to protest, or assemble, or associate, or express ourselves, or have free media, or disagree with the government. Anyone who does so is arrested, charged, and jailed as political dissidents.
We know, both in theory and in practice, that centralization causes nothing but misery, because it destroys the mechanisms of error correction, leading to doubling down on flawed policies. And it cannot do otherwise, especially not in the highly centralized institutions that have been captured by these hubristic people. History is replete with examples of tyrants enamored of their centralizing visions, believing each time that they hold some perspective or some asset that their predecessors lacked. Today, it is the false belief that access to more data and bigger computers will mean that this time is different. But it isn't different. People still make mistakes, and when those who amass great power and control do so, the results are disastrous.
I am really, really glad that finally people stand up and came forward. And I really hope that this initiative will be successful. And at the very least, it will hopefully wake up the people to what's really going on. And like I said, we are talking about freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. And we are about to be stripped of all of that. And I do whatever I can to fight that.
This is what we need. We need everybody's voice, and without that voice, as an individual voice and collective voice, we will not be able to succeed. So we want to show the unity and how many there is of us.
We are here today to tell you, WHO globalitarian misanthropists, we are here today to tell you, you picked this fight, you wanted this fight, well, guess what? You've got it. Let's fight. Because these brave citizens, my colleagues and I, we will not tire to fight you every step of the way. These brave 7 citizens and millions more around the world, these are the people you will have to reckon with from now on. Because we are millions around the world. It is you that is the small fringe minority. You are the ones who do not have the right to dictate to the people what they want and what they don't want. So, take it from me, take it from us, take it from these 7 citizens who gathered here today. Take it from the millions and millions of people around the world. We will bring you down, and we will not tire until we have done just that.
So there you have it. We've wrapped up the speeches from the MEPs and the international speakers here in Brussels, where many of them are making their voices heard against the pandemic treaty. It's safe to say from the speeches and from what they've been saying to me that they are sick and tired of unelected bureaucrats encroaching on everyday people's lives. This has been Lewis Brackpool reporting in Brussels, the European Parliament, for Grit News in collaboration with Oracle Films. Thank you.